City Council Town Hall meeting, City of Port Richey, Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. I'd like to stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Madam Clerk, you take roll, please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover.
Here.
Vice Mayor Colin McClary.
Here.
Councilman Tom Kinsella.
Here.
Councilwoman Linda Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilman Bill Colombo. Let the record show that Councilman Bill Colombo is absent from tonight's meeting. City Attorney Nancy Meyer. Let the record show that City Attorney Nancy Meyer is also absent from tonight's meeting. City Manager Matthew Poplar.
Here. Thank you. First of all, thank you all for coming. Great turnout tonight. I appreciate that. There's some cookies and water over there on my right. If you want to help yourself to that as night goes on. I want to cover a couple ground rules, just kind of set the tone for the meeting. First one is, this is your meeting. All right, the agenda is open, wide open for anything that you want to talk about. The only thing that I do ask, and this was a suggestion from our last town hall meeting, and it helps with the facilitation of the minutes, is as we have somebody come up and they talk about a topic. So let's say somebody comes up and talks about golf carts. After they have whatever they want to say and we have that interaction, staying on topic, I'll open the floor to anybody else who wants to comment on that, so we kind of get all the golf cart stuff taken care of at once, and then we'll move on to the next topic. I do have a sign-up sheet, obviously. We're going to start with that, so the topics that kind of go in that order. And of course, at the end of this, I'll open up for raise of hands. If somebody didn't sign up, you'll have an opportunity to talk as well. So that's how we'll run that, just to kind of keep things concise, on topic. Not that there's any topic that needs to be discussed, but if you guys bring it up, I'll give the rest of the people opportunity to talk about it as well. Be kind and respectful to everyone. We all have differing opinions. We want to be kind and respectful. Let people share their opinions. At the end of the day, we're all here to make Port Richey a better place. So let's make sure we're being kind and respectful. Be attentive and not disruptive. Obviously, we're going to cover a lot of stuff tonight that you guys want to talk about. So make sure that you guys are paying attention, and that way we don't repeat things or whatever, and we actually stay on topic and we can get out of here at 8 o'clock. When you're talking, don't monopolize the meeting. There's a lot of people here that want to express their opinions and have questions. So try not to stay, rambling on the same topic as we go forward. Be patient. This is a new style meeting for City of Port Richey. This is our second town hall we've had. I think they're a very good opportunity for you guys to have open dialogue with myself and the council. So, but as we do this, obviously we want to adjust to make it better going forward. So any suggestions you have, let us know, and we'll get those looked at for the future meeting. Have fun and be productive. Again, we have one thing in common: be the best we can be. And with that, there's one more thing I want to address. Now, there is some confusion on who actually lives in the City of Port Richey and who doesn't. You may have a Port Richey address, but that doesn't mean that you're within our jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction basically is 2.7 square miles, and that's the area that we can influence. So you're always welcome to come, and I appreciate if you are outside the city, you're here, but just realize if there's something that you have a complaint or something that you want to address, we can't do anything outside the 2.7 square miles, but obviously I can help get you plugged into the appropriate Pasco County Commissioner that would handle that, or even if you may be Newport Richey, maybe you're part of that city. So if that, just keep that in mind. When you come up to the podium, state your name and your address, and then the floor is yours. Any questions before we move on? Great. With that, I'll go to the first sign up. I have Tony Rubio. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
I live at 10915 Lees Road, and I've been living there since 2015. And the first thing that I noticed is the street, the corners, that area. That's between Coventry and you got Coventry and Ranch.
Yeah, that sounds like that's outside the city limits.
It's Coventry.
Yeah, so you actually don't live inside that
Outside?
That's still outside, yeah. So, like I said, you can continue to talk, but obviously there's nothing we can do to fix that. But I'd be happy to put you in touch with Jack Mariano. Jack Mariano will be your Pasco County Commissioner for District 5.
Oh, okay.
You know, I don't know if they have a similar type forum. I think they just met today at 10, I think, for their Board of County Commissioner meeting. So that would be the avenue for you to speak with those guys, and I'd be happy to
Yes,
share.
everything I say is not going to be taken care of.
We can do for you as of now because you're not within our jurisdictional boundary.
But nice to meet you.
Yeah, but I appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Next up, I have Brian Duke. Welcome.
Good evening, I'm Brian Duke. I live at 8716 Green Street in Port Richey. Beautiful place, beautiful town. I'm here to talk about the golf carts, which is a big deal. We've got a lot of people on my street. We got a lot of people within the whole area that utilize golf carts for not just their main transportation, but to visit all the places that you all talk about called the Bayou. And the Bayou is really not just down by Catches. It's the Naughty Oar and the Dirty Mullet and the Garage on Grand are off the river now. And basically what's happening is because somebody somewhere decided that they're going to make it a big deal to cross 19, it's now become a big issue. And I just wonder what happened, because I've been living here for 7 years. I've had a golf cart for 5. I take my dog to Sims Park 3 times a week, and now I'm being prohibited basically crossing 19. Doing a little research, and again, I won't monopolize, but doing a little research, for me to be able to do what I need to do, it's going to cost me a little over $550. And every one of these people that's got a golf cart to become legal, it's going to cost them the same amount of money. And that's to get it licensed. And that entails a whole bunch of stuff from the, you got to get a registration, you got to get licensed, you got to get insurance. And that's a pretty big burden, $550 for everybody to be able to just cross 19 to enjoy our entire city, not just part of it. So I would ask the council to take a look at what happened and do something about it, okay, before we all have to spend a bunch of money. And the other question I have is, quite frankly, what is the fine if I get caught? So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Yep. So I'll start, and then we can pass around here what you all want to add. But so obviously we're looking at getting golf cart crossing at Grand Boulevard. We submitted all the necessary stuff to the DOT, and they came back with a request that in order to approve that, they want us to provide a dedicated left turn lane at that intersection on both sides, east and west, and also a shared through and right turn lane. Currently, we don't have that stripage there, and I don't think we can accommodate that with the current width of that road. So what we're in the process of now, and I'll let Matt kind of explain further because he's in the details of that, but we're looking at doing what the engineering cost is going to be to make those modifications, and they're also working with the DOT to see what if there's anything different that they can less of a requirement or what because the DOT did come back and they don't seem to think it's going to cost that much, and obviously the least amount of money we need to spend is the better. It makes it more palatable to put that project forward. I do realize, and I honestly, this is something I really want to get done. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to probably a cost, and then that's something we need to decide if that's something we want to do as opposed to some other things that are pressing. So I'll turn it over to Matt, let him maybe give a little more detail behind that.
Yeah,
where we're at.
currently we're waiting on different engineering firms to submit a scope of service and the cost with that. We should have those here in the next week. I think we have 2 in, I believe, right now. And it looks like, just from the preliminary engineering design phase of this, it's going to be in that $4,000 to $12,000 range to get that done. We recently had a meeting with the state transportation department. They I think gave some very helpful advice on how to reduce the overall cost. On one side, they feel that we actually have enough pavement, and it's really just a matter of remarking, the areas to give us that dedicated left-hand turn. The other side, it looks like we're going to have to do some widening, but again, they've given a suggestion on that will actually minimize, I think, the overall widening. So it may not be as bad of a cost as what we were thinking early on, but it's definitely going to be probably in the magnitude from design all the way to construction in the $100,000 to $150,000 range.
Okay.
Time frame wise, I think, we can get through preliminary design, with some of these items within, a couple months, get it out to bid for the work and get that done sometime later in 2024, if that's the direction council wants to go.
Okay. And the other question was the fine. Do we know what the fine is on that?
I wrote that down. I'm not sure, but we'll get an answer to that.
I know that we also charge fees too to register for the golf cart. As if we get these costs finalized or whatever, maybe that's something we can look at too, to adjust that fee to help cover the cost of that. So there's a lot of things we can look at possibly doing to help facilitate getting that work done. But we got to have obviously the costs in place.
Let me just say that I'm writing down the questions. If we can't answer them tonight, I'll get with the staff tomorrow, and then we'll post them online so you can see what the answers are to these questions.
Yeah. And actually, sure, go ahead.
With what I just heard there, this is all going to happen within a nice, quick amount of time. Can I feel comfortable crossing 19 as I always have without getting pulled over?
Well, so currently they're running a thing through, well, actually the training period ended. Now they're actually issuing citations across there as of December 1st. So the answer is no, because they're actively enforcing that. It is illegal to do. So until we can actually,
Now, because someone brought it up.
well, it's always,
It always was illegal.
Well,
It's
it's never been an issue until about, 6 months ago. Maybe
Less. Yeah, less.
right. But it always has been illegal. I think it probably wasn't being enforced. I'm not sure what what kind of started that enforcement. Are you aware of what that?
Well,
Before you're here, but
yeah, the best I can say is that once we become aware of what the issue is as a city, we have to look at it from a standpoint of protecting all of our residents and making that notice available and keeping people safe is contingent upon us to do that. If we fail to act, that's when we get into trouble and we start spending a lot of money of tax dollars that we shouldn't have to spend.
So with that said, what's the difference between me having a golf cart with a license plate driving across and a golf cart with no license plate?
No, come to the podium with a microphone. No, that's okay. No, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's all new.
No, we get it, we get it.
What's the difference between me driving with a license across the 19 and not driving across? With, other than, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I can go tomorrow up to Homosassa, get a license and be done. And then I never have to worry about it.
It's the state requirement for that. It's kind of out of our jurisdiction as to, we allow golf carts on city roads because that's our jurisdiction. Route 19 is a state road, and it's the state laws that you're abiding by for the low-speed vehicle designation.
So what's my option to go from grand to grand?
right now
Yeah.
it's illegal unless you have it.
Crosswalk like the scooters can, or the motorized bicycles, or,
The state DOT prohibits any golf carts on state-owned land.
so there's no option right now for me to go from grand by the gas station to grand by the,
Not without getting a title, like you said.
Unless it's a low-speed
I
vehicle.
guess it's gonna be important to know what the fine is. So if you guys can
Yeah, we'll get that information out.
make it a couple bucks and I'll be good.
And that's actually we laughed at that, but that's actually something that's a good question. Maybe the fine is minimal going forward. But again,
I would be very careful of having any further conversations on that.
but yeah, we probably need to check in what it is. But once I get the sign sheet, I'll get the hands. Do you have some on golf carts?
I just have one.
Well,
No, there's
See the hand.
something-
Ma'am, do you have something to talk about golf carts?
I do.
I'll get you after her.
Okay.
You have golf carts?
It is about the golf.
Okay, well, come to the podium, please.
Podium.
Are they citationing?
You have to come to the podium, ma'am.
people
You have to come to
Yeah.
the podium.
Yeah, guys, when it's your turn to speak, please come to the podium.
I'm gonna,
My name is Biddy Johnston. I live at 6111 Cheers Drive, Port Richey, and Suncoast Gateway Mobile Home Park. And we all use golf carts. But there's also people that have these little electric chairs and electric scooters and that are not licensed, but they actually cross at Ridge and 19.
Yeah, those are actually,
Going down to, I mean, are they getting citationed?
those are actually allowed in the crosswalk.
Yeah, because they're a handicap device.
So if you're handicapped, if you have a handicap something on your golf cart, you can drive it across there?
Not to be. A lot of this is interaction with state laws, so a lot of this is outside of our jurisdiction.
Okay.
Yeah, bottom line is we can't just create an ordinance and say we're going to allow it when the state doesn't. We can't do that. We just can't do that. So we have to.
Who do we have to go to bring, if you can't do it, who do we have to go to get this taken care of? Because if you're allowed to go across there with a hover round, which doesn't go as quickly as a golf cart, and I wouldn't do it myself personally because I'd be afraid I'd be run over. Because that's handicapped, and you're a handicapped individual that doesn't have a vehicle, and you need to go to Walmart and get your groceries, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Big difference.
We agree with you.
We don't disagree with anything anyone's saying.
So who do we need to contact if,
So we're doing what we need to do and can do because we can get it approved, again, with the modifications that they've requested. But at the end of the day, it's their prerogative whether they approve that or not. And if they'll say we put all this effort forward, we get a price, and we decide we move forward the project, and they don't approve it or what have you, then that would need to be going to the state legislation to make those changes.
okay, thank you.
We've always we've been trying to get the golf cart crossing for a long time. We piggybacked it in with Newport Ritchie. Newport Ritchie's crossing is wider and has more access. Unfortunately, ours doesn't, and that's where we're running into trouble.
And they actually have the
So
same.
that's why they were granted it right away.
Crossing in Newport Richie.
Golf. So they
Golf drive,
Golf
okay.
drive. Golf
Yeah,
drive.
oh, no,
Drive?
yeah.
Yeah, so
But-
there's if I could, if I could, so there's
Brand is bigger than Golf Drive.
so there's three intersections in Newport Ritchie that they put in for us. Golf. Please, yeah. This is when the ground was obviously when somebody's speaking, I get quiet so we can all hear what's going on, and then you'll each have your time to speak. So there's three that were submitted to Newport Ritchie: Golf, Marine, and Main Street. Main Street was disapproved. Golf was approved, and Golf has those shared left turn lanes and what they're asking for. Marine does not, and so they're having a similar, my understanding is a similar type issue that we're having on Grand. So they submitted for three, they only got one. They're working on Marine. Maine was all out denied. So, for instance, if we was to submit for Ridge, it probably would be denied just based on it's a much larger intersection. They probably
You couldn't do Ridge because Ridge is 30.
Going to take this to someone above you.
Yeah, you couldn't put a golf cart on Ridge.
How soon will we know something?
As soon as the state lets us know.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have to go through the design process, run it by the state to make sure it meets what their requirements are, and then once they approve the design, we'll be able to move forward.
Well, Tammy had her hand up next. You good? Okay. Let's state name and address, please.
Donna Butler, 6035 Cheers Drive. I just have one question. I can't cross at Grand. I want to go over to Gill Dogs, Rum River. I'm going to have dinner. So I'm going to go down to Golf, cross over. I'm going to go the back way, all the way over. I'm going to come over the bridge on 19. Is that legal?
No, because you're on state property once you cross.
Florida doesn't allow golf carts on their sidewalks abutting a highway. So,
And the bridge is a state property anyway, so they're not allowed to.
You realize how much do these restaurant owners and everything realize how much business they're losing because of all us people that go over there for dinner and concerts and good times, and we can't get there?
yeah, no,
And the people on that side can't get to us?
I totally understand.
We can't even go that way.
Yeah.
Legally, you cannot.
I'm going to be the first one to get arrested. I guarantee it.
Anybody else? Tammy? Well,
I'll let y'all know what the plan is.
I'm here on golf carts as well. My name's Dr. Tammy Berry.
please.
Hey, everybody.
sorry. Dr. Tammy Berryhill, 8709 Green Street, Port Richey. I think a lot of the points have already been brought up. I just wanted to bring another perspective that the fact that you can golf cart between Port Richey and New Port Richey is what brought us to Port Richey. I'm a lifelong resident of West Pasco, over 50 years. And when my children grew up and we wanted to downsize, we wanted to be on the water, so we chose Port Richey. We looked at New Port Richey, but we chose Port Richey because we had the options of both. And now you've eliminated those options, and so anything you can.
Never eliminated anything.
Just saying, not being able to, take our golf carts from one place to the other and go to Sims Park and go to downtown and do all of those things. That's what drew us to the Port Richey and to Green Street. And not having those opportunities now is really disappointing. So anything we can do to bring it back would be awesome.
Yeah.
We all agree with you. I'm on the other side of 19. I can't go to Gildogs, and I bought a golf cart specifically to go over there and do that. So we're all in the same boat that have golf carts up here. We're also not happy about this. This was not something that we did that we wanted to do. We tried to make it legal. It always was illegal. We crossed at our own
Discretion.
So I please know that this is not something that I'm happy about. I should speak for myself. This is something I'm not happy about. I bought a golf cart so I could go over to Gildogs, I could go over to Hooters and play around. I can go down to Brasher Park on my golf cart. So any of us who have a golf cart are in the same boat. So please understand that. I personally understand, and I think anybody that has a golf cart understands. And this is not something that we wanted to do. So this is not of our doing. We have to follow the law of the state, just as we all do. It's unfortunate, but we're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
But it is going to take some time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So just be patient with us. I am trying to get mine titled. I got mine titled. I am going to get it registered so I can go across. I'm going to get a license plate, but it's costly. It is. It's costly. I totally agree with you. But that's the only way.
If you do that.
Huh?
You can cross it.
Yes.
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 A year or just 5 years?
No.
That's a one-time cost. Once you get your vehicle.
Then you have to register it, and then you have to pay your insurance. But you should have insurance anyway if you have a golf cart. But that's
I got insurance.
if you have a title,
Not if it's an older one, I bought it.
you can get a title. I didn't have a title when I bought it either. I had to. There are certain steps you have to do that.
I don't even remember when we bought it.
There are steps you can do to get it titled.
And then I will add.
Sorry, I just wanted to.
No, you're fine.
Yes. My name's Bob Schmidt. I lived at 6120 Dream Drive in Port Richey. I'm wondering if you folks have any statistics involving golf cart accidents on Grand.
Yeah, and I think we asked the
That's all
chief,
I wanted to know.
and there was none.
All right,
Okay.
now it's my turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to our knowledge, and that, like I said, Tom said, I think the chief had looked into it, we've never had one.
Okay.
So I'm
Name and address.
Schmidt, and I live at the same address. And this is my question following up what he just said. If there's no statistics about accidents, is that being reported to the state? Because, okay, and another thing that I want to mention is when I go to at the end of Grand and I go to cross 19 to go to Catches for dinner or whatever, the traffic on 19 goes and goes and goes. It totally stops. Totally, there is nothing crossing us. And then the left-hand lane turns and it lasts 15 seconds. And once they're done, everybody's stopped and then we go. How can that be dangerous? I think that should be submitted to the state as well, because that's exactly how it happens. No, I'm finished.
As part of the initial application process, the city did supply a traffic study to the state. It included all the items that you just mentioned. It included the traffic counts across Route 19, how the intersection works. We provided all of that data to the state. That was always illegal. The crossing was always illegal from day one. We supplied all that data to the state. They came back with the requirements or the suggestions that they had to that. And we further worked with the state to try to see the most economical way we can fix that intersection to abide to their standards. We could, it is totally at the state's discretion, DOT, as to whether they allow the golf cart crossing. 100% their discretion. We could make these modifications and they could still say no, as they did with Newport Richie in 2 locations.
So they realize that nobody turns left, nobody turns right. We go straight across.
They are very much aware of it.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yep,
And I
they
didn't
are.
realize that you'd done a study on that, but I've been studying too.
Yes, sir?
Just for those who might want to get licensed,
Yeah, the mic.
Captain Jim's in Homosassa. I talked to him today. He'll come down and get your golf cart, take it, get it street legal, get you a title if you need a title, registration, and it's $550. So
and then you have to go get a plate.
then you have to go get a plate and obviously insurance.
Wait a minute, what's
Hidden Creek does it too, right in Newport Richie.
What's that?
Hidden Creek Golf Carts right in Newport Richie does it as well.
Okay, well,
That's where I took mine.
okay. So anyways,
552?
No,
it can
it was less than that.
Less.
gonna cost everybody money.
It was less than 550 in Hidden Creek, so.
Yeah, and, hey, guys, keep it down.
Did you drive it down 19?
So, we realize that costs money, but that is a surefire way to be able to do it without us having to modify it. We're gonna still move forward with actually trying to make those changes, but if you don't wanna wait, and you've got some, free cash or whatever, you can get that golf cart, you never have to worry about it again. So, and you can cross other intersections as well within the speed limit.
As long as you stay on roads that are.
Roads that are
Drive it anywhere there.
less than,
35, I think.
yeah, less than
Yeah,
35.
but if you have a license, you can.
Anyhow, I was told.
Name and address, please. Name and address first.
That if we went and got it registered and got
Hey, name and address, sorry.
I'm sorry, Bob Spencer, 6035 Dream Drive.
Thank you.
If we go down to Tampa and get the registration, come back and get the plates, get the insurance that we're supposed to have, we now can drive on any street and cross any street that's 35 and under,
Correct.
period.
Correct.
Correct.
So there is no law that we can't go across, whatever. The other thing is, I was a policeman a long time. When you come to a green light or a red light and you stop, like 19, that's 19. When it opens up to go green, that is a continuous of Grand Boulevard. We're not even on, when that light's green for us, we're not on 19 unless you guys have changed the law since I was a policeman.
The state owns the property under the intersection.
Doesn't matter. It's Grand Boulevard that we're on.
Well, they're very specific. You cannot cross a state highway.
Yeah, this is a Florida law. I don't know where you were a policeman, but this is a Florida law, so it's through the entire state of Florida.
But anyhow, back to the question. For these people, if we go do that and get it done, then
You actually have more
the
freedom.
golf cart place that told me any street 35 miles an hour or under, we can drive on and we can cross across any street in Florida, is what they told us.
Yes. that's
Correct.
We all understand that.
Yeah.
It's legal.
That's
Yeah.
legal.
Correct.
It's basically a car at that point, anything under 35 miles.
No, you can't. Is Congress is higher than 35.
What's
isn't it?
Washington?
Washington's 35.
So here's a good example of if you get your, because Washington's included in our code, right? So we don't,
Excluded in our code, I think.
yeah, we don't allow golf carts on Washington, okay? If it's an LSV vehicle that you go pay and get that done, you can actually drive it on Washington if it's 35 and under, which I believe it is. So it basically gives you a lot more freedom. You're not restricted to, it's not a golf cart that, it's really a car, but a low speed car, 35 mile an hour.
Low speed vehicle.
Low speed vehicle. So, any other things on that? I hear you, and I tell you, I really love the passion about that, and I tell you, I'm passionate as well. I think the rest of council has demonstrated that we're passionate about getting that taken care of. So we're doing due diligence on that, and hopefully we'll have something very soon to be able to get that approved. But again, we got to go through the appropriate, cost analysis and whatnot. And if it comes back to $150,000 or whatever, show of hands, is that something you think the city should spend money on? Is that curious? Okay. Obviously, right? So, but just keep in mind, if we do that, other things may take a back seat, whatever the priority is. And you guys, at the end of the day, control that. So when we talk about golf carts and spend that money, make sure you come back for that action item when it comes and show your support so we can know that how to vote for that. Let's see. So the next on the list I have, Bertie Johnston.
She was already up there.
Okay. Pat Morris, welcome.
Hello. Pat Morris from the Suncoast News. Update on the diesel situation in the water, and if you found out what happened and what's going on now and what the implications are.
Yeah, give me your address for the record.
I'm sorry, I represent the Suncoast News.
Is that good enough for you? Okay. I'll turn it over to Matt. He's right.
So the latest, I believe they still do not.
Quiet, guys.
They still have not identified where the fuel came from. I think they were actually, the Coast Guard was in town earlier today doing some drone shots to see if they can, figure out potentially where it was. But they're still trying to isolate where it came from. They feel most of it's dissipated quite a bit. So.
Okay, so is there a public danger?
They've never issued a warning that there would be a danger to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on the diesel fuel spill? Okay, I have Betty Lou Cummins. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Betty Lou Cummins. I live at 8607 Old Post Road, and I'm here to nag about speed bumps again. And if everybody drove golf carts, I wouldn't be here at all. I'm in support. Now, I live on Old Post Road, and unfortunately, too many people don't pay any attention to any sort of speed limit we have on the road. The city has put up the temporary electronic speed devices, and while they're up, it does make a difference. But as soon as they disappear, the drag strip opens up again. I moved here. When I retired, I was living in Germany, and I could choose to come here. I had a house here, or Virginia Beach. And I actually came a year early just to spend a week on Green Street, to see what it was like. And I discovered that there was a park down at the end of the road, that's Brashear Park. Another park down at the other end, Waterfront, Nix, Olsner, discovered Winslow. And I thought, what a place to retire. I can walk, I can bike, things I love to do. So I decided to come here. And it was good for a while, but then development occurred and the speeding started. And I have to deal with 19, that speedway, every time I leave my neighborhood. I have to either cross it or go north or go south. You're familiar with it. I don't want my street to be another speedway, and that's happening. Can we put in speed bumps?
So after the last town hall meeting, I actually brought that back up to try to get that as an action item to talk about it. And the council as a body decided that they didn't want to discuss speeding issues. So unfortunately, that isn't going anywhere. I've continued to advocate that we have that conversation. I think, again, I've advocated that we, like the ones we move around, shows your speed, not speed bumps, but those electronic devices that, that would speed what? Camera trailers. Well, not the trailers, it's more of a permanent solution that they have in different places. So it's always there. It'd be part of Old Post Road and other places that we have the issue, and hope to drive better behavior. Like I said, I think you're right. I think as we move that trailer around, it does improve the behavior. So maybe permanent ones would do enough behavior changing to keep that. And then, of course, that work we could then look at speed bumps. But again, it was something that rest of the colleagues on the dais did want to discuss, so.
Is it the cost? Because there are speed bumps over on Grand along the river, and that slows down traffic nicely. How costly can it be?
I don't think it's necessarily cost as much as the data that we have from the police department as they move their devices around the city. There's not enough, a high, basically it's lower than 10%. What was it? You guys remember what it was?
It was 2%.
Very low. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe the perception of the public seems like it's higher, and that was another thing that I thought that might these devices that you could put up permanently where they flash when it detects people speeding. It also help with perception, because if you're out in your front yard and you see somebody go by, maybe they're actually doing the speed limit, but you perceive it as being faster. You would see them go by that device out there, and you see it in flash. That would solidify. Well, maybe I'm. Again, I think it would help with that. It also helped drive the behavior. But again, it was the statistics that we have. It's a very, very low amount of offenders out there that are doing it. So it didn't spark the interest of the rest of council. So that's the best I can. I say, I'll see you guys have a different opinion. So.
I mean, I know this has come up several times.
I nag.
Over my tenure. I've gone over the data. We've actually had 3 or 4 studies of Old Post Road at different times, and they've been week-long studies, I believe it is, something along those lines, where they just analyze the data of the speeders. There is perception and the data do not coincide with each other, unfortunately. In terms, the data says that occasionally there are speeders, like any road, but it's not excessive or beyond any state standards for requiring action to the road itself. In terms of the speed bumps, I know we had brought that up several times. If you talk to people along Sunset and they say the speed bumps don't do anything to slow down the speeders. Again, it's a perception happens. And I know we've had this discussion quite a bit over my tenure. It's not that we didn't have an interest in it. It's that we've talked about this quite extensively over the past 5 years, 4 years. How long have we been here? 4 or 5 years. And the data just doesn't support further action. And that's probably the biggest problem that council has, versus people saying that I see a speeder. Well, yes, but do you see a speeder more than Bay Boulevard or any of the other roads in the city? And that's the problem that we're kind of having. The data says, no, there's actually other roads in the city that are worse than Old Post that no one's complaining about. And that's where we're running into. So
We can get to that.
we can show you the data. We'll be more than happy.
Just to show you why the decision was made and what we made. There is hard, fast data showing exactly what Todd just said.
And when was that data collected?
The past year or two. I mean,
It's constant.
Yeah, we just had a study done 6 months ago.
Yeah, very recent. It's ongoing. They continue to monitor.
And we actually went out and bought this device so we could do these traffic studies throughout the city, and the police routinely do them. And I think on Old Post, we've had 3, 4, maybe even 5 of them done.
And they're all 1 week long.
And they're all 1 week long studies, and it says, and the police come back and they say this does not exceed the state standards for warranting further action. Unfortunately, so.
I will continue to nag, be forewarned. Thank you.
And we can get to that.
And we'll either post the data or figure out some way to logically get it to you. We have to make sure that we're not violating anything.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on speeding?
Yeah.
I'll get you next. Cindy? And I'll get you after.
Cynthia
You after her. After her, yeah. Thank you.
Cynthia Malin, 5446 Blue Point Drive. Chief Robinson did share that information with us, and the speeds were between 87 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour. True, 45 to 50% were driving within the speed limit. The rest were not. And the problem of that is, that's a narrow road. They're pulling boats up and down. I know that it would be difficult to put speed bumps in there because of the trailers and the boat traffic that we get. But I don't know what you call excessive when you see mileage of 87 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone. That's quite a bit. And we do get it late at night, Gill Dogs, those places let out. Also, we get speeding during going home after they've put in the townhouses down at the end of Old Post. So there are issues, but again, I don't know what you're calling excessive.
87. Yeah.
87. And there's a lot of kids that live on that street. Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
Yeah, and the excessiveness isn't necessarily the actual speed that a couple of those perpetrators did. It says you take a month's worth of data, what percentage were actually over the speed limit. That's what, and those numbers are very low. Now, granted, there's even if we had people, even if we had speed bumps or devices or whatever, there's going to be speeding. I don't know that there in that percentage that there's any. There's no weighted. So if I go 85 down there and the speed limit's 35 and I go 40, the 85 is treated just like a 45. It's a violation. Statistically, here's what actually I think there's maybe a different threshold. It's what's enforceable. There's a couple different categories on
they
there.
have different categories of it. I don't have the document in front
Yeah,
of
there's
me.
not a lot of weighting to that, but yeah, 85 is very excessive. Matter of fact, I don't even know how that even happens, to be honest with you. It almost seems like that's hard to do. But yeah.
And that was done on the electronic device several times when they've gone down there and strapped it to our light post.
Hello.
Name and address.
Yeah, my name is Greg Janold, 8443 Damon Lane. I was waiting till the end. I've got a different topic, pretty important to me, but I just want to talk about speed bumps. I used to live in an area that was speed bumped, and I had to get 3 front-end alignments in a 2-year period. It is the worst thing for your car. You don't want speed bumps. I would never buy a house on a street that had speed bumps. Nobody's going for a house, open house and says, I'm not going to buy this house because there's no speed bumps, but there are people that says, I'm not buying this house because there are speed bumps and I don't want to go over them every single day, in and out. And I know that for a fact because I'm one of them. I would never buy that, and I'm sure there are other people like me. So that would hurt your property value. Nobody wants their property value down because they can't sell the house because they have speed bumps there. Horrible for your car. Don't ever do it. It's horrible, okay?
Yeah, I'll also make a comment on speed bumps. If you've been down or as you go along the river towards Port Richey, Newport Richey, those speed bumps are actually, and even on our south side of town, the speed bumps around that area, when you develop speed bumps, they're developed to accommodate a certain speed. So if the speed limit is 35, you should be able to go over that speed bump at 35 mile an hour if it's done correctly and it really not causing that. But what happens is you get, I guess, probably the cheap versions of them that are just.
There's the speed humps, not speed bumps. They're a little bit lower, still bad for your car. Don't do it, okay? Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else speeding? Dave Mueller?
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. I'd like to thank everybody, all these folks out here for coming up today. And keep in mind that there's a council meeting next week, and we have the same kind of forum, except we don't get to talk as much. So this is your opportunity today.
Well, Dave, you get to talk a lot, Dave.
That came from that side of the room.
Actually, if you have more people there, you talk less, probably.
Things. Typically, if you follow me, you know that I focus on process and procedures, budgets, what we're spending money on, trying to iron out inefficiencies and make things more efficient. Those are particularly my ideas. That's what I grew up with. That's where I was raised, and by God, that's the way we're going to try to do it here. Anyway, to that extent, while we're on the speed bumps, and I'll put that horse to rest, we do have a device. And that device should be deployed every single day. There's no reason why it should be sitting in the parking lot. I'd like to see what the report looks like to say, okay, how many days was it in service and not in service? If it's a device and it acts as a deterrent to speeding on Old Post, well, maybe we just leave it out there for months instead of 1 week and then park it in the parking lot. The point is, it's a tool we have. Let's use the tool. It's a no-brainer. Okay, I'm going to check that one off my list because somebody's paying attention. Next, I do believe
Anything more speeding?
That's enough for speed bumps.
Anybody else got speed just for, okay, so we
One
put,
topic at a time, Dave.
yeah, let me make one more topic on speed, and I'll just bring this up just because I know that Newport Richie has kind of started doing this, and I think they've seen some positive effects.
Speed bumps are in Newport Richie, not Port Richie.
They've actually, and I don't know if it's something maybe we can look at just as an idea, whatever. If you've gone across the bridge going into Newport Richie, you'll see that there's a police
The dummy
vehicle,
car with the dummy?
car, yeah. I think they'd move that around. That might help. So if we got an extra police car, we could throw out there occasionally. Kind of patrol might help.
Now we're really putting on.
Not when you leave it in the same position. for-
No, you move it around, obviously.
It doesn't work.
Right, got to move it around, and it'd probably be moved around
Doesn't
daily.
work.
Yeah, if that one's sitting there, you realize it's
3 weeks.
Put a little mustache
So
on the
I think it's a great idea, but it needs a little more activity. But anyway,
Well, they got a dummy. They got a dummy in the seat. Anyway, and if speed bumps don't work, speed bricks do.
You want to throw bricks at cars then?
Huh?
I don't think that's a good idea. Throwing bricks at cars probably won't.
Say that. Anyway, while we're on the topic, a couple of council meetings ago, it was clarified that we now have an opportunity to spend penny for Pasco dollars on things like infrastructure. Those kinds of things could be deployed as opposed to cars and trucks and machinery. There was some confusion, and we got the record straight that we can spend penny for Pasco on infrastructure. That would be your pipes, your roads, your drains, your boat ramp. You could even spend that money on a golf cart crossing because that's an infrastructure item that has a useful life greater than 5 years, and I believe that was what the terminology was. So just put that in your back pocket. You have the funding to do that. Also, a couple council meetings ago, it was brought up that the police wanted to buy a $105,000 boat that was capable of exceeding 20 miles offshore. And we discussed that in the council, and I give them credit. They told them put that on hold and take a look at other options. And I have looked at some other options, and potentially a new motor would probably be more in line at about a $15,000 amount rather than $105,000. We have an entire city that is in a no wake zone with the exception of Miller's Bayou. And there again, that is 30 miles an hour. So whether they need a $100,000 speed boat capable of reaching speeds of 50 miles an hour, when you have Pasco and Sheriff's Office and Coast Guard able to support that area, I believe we need to stay in our lane and focus on what the citizens can afford in the city. And I think giving them a new motor would be more than appropriate. Let's look at some other items I got. Back to the administrative aspect. I noticed that our document library and website and the documents are all over the road like fresh you-know-what. What would benefit this city is if everything was parked in the document library, all of the 2023 council minutes, CAC minutes, planning and zoning minutes, Port Authority minutes, Board of Adjustment minutes, and any workshops related to budgets should be parked in one place rather than having to fan back through calendar after calendar after calendar. That's a terrible way to keep documents organized, and I believe we're better than that. And I believe people in this city administration are capable of doing a much better job there, and probably should focus on how do we make things easy for the residents? I mean, easy for people, getting our information apart. One other thing I'd like to see in the finance area would be is to roll all the documents into one CSV file or an Excel file that somebody can actually work with a document rather than a PDF that you have to combine 8 documents to see where you land financially. One other thing too, I'd like to see, and I know this is coming at you like a fire hose, Mr. Koppler, but potentially looking at standardizing some of our reports. Let's get all our reports on a standard thing, and that way it's easy for everybody. It's fill in the blank. You know what the format is. Everybody has the same look, feel, and touch. And one other thing I'd like to see, I know that the the shade sales for the playgrounds did not get approved on the grant, but potentially maybe we can look at a tree grant to help supply that shade to the playground equipment. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thanks. I'm going to comment a couple things with in regards to the financial data. I think I did mention that to Matt about possibly getting some different file structures out there that we could easily manipulate. So I think that's maybe something is in the works or something. Okay. Did you have any other comments on some of the other stuff? No. Okay.
All the good things.
Yep. And website, obviously, it's something else Matt's looking into. Go ahead. Yeah. Just one more thing.
For you, my time.
Yep.
If you need somebody to work, no charge.
You have your website design experience?
I can tell you how to do it, but he's got paper and pen like me.
New topic?
Sure. Well, does anybody want any of those 5, 6 topics that Dave covered? It
12 topics.
No, new topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is important to me. Already up once. Greg Genold, 8443 Damon Lane. I've been a resident of the Tampa Bay area well over 50 years now, and I just moved to the beautiful Port Richey city, maybe you've heard, last month. So I'm a brand new resident.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Well, thank you, and resident of the beautiful Martha's Vineyard area. So I really like it there. I checked the Google Maps before I came here, and I zoomed in on my particular area. I'm on a canal that drains into a kind of a mini bayou, and I counted all the houses that are affected or navigate my waterway, and I came up with 25. Some of them were houses, some were properties. And I counted some of the other fingers that go into Miller's Bayou, and it looks like my lane has the most residents or properties. I moved here because of like everybody else, everything nice on Old Post, all the parks and the restaurants and all the good things that you have, plus the waterways. I wanted to be able to, I have a couple of boats, be able to navigate and have fun while I'm here. And I'm having a problem that to get out from my canal, at low tide, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. It's right under the Bay Boulevard. I'm north of the Bay thing. And in fact, a neighbor, I just moved, so I haven't even tried to navigate, but next door neighbor had a kayak, and they had to actually get out and lift it up over there. And then a little bit north of me, it's even worse. It's closing up so bad that it's going to be shut off. You'll have to talk to a marine biologist to find out what kind of impact that would have on wildlife there. Last week, neighbor one away from me, I introduced myself, and he said, by the way, I heard a rumor that the city of Port Richey, on a periodic basis, comes out and they clean out, dredge, whatever, that area. So I'm here today to find out if that's true, what kind of period we're looking at, every year, every 2 years. The area I'm talking about is extremely small. I'm not talking about drainage or dredging an entire canal. Just this one area right under the Bay Boulevard Bridge, and then to my north, that is almost preventing that mini bayou people from getting out. That's getting close to being completely blocked off. So question, has that been done in the past? Question 2 is, will it be done again? And then how often? Thank you.
Sure. I'll say a few things. I'll say I don't know, but from a maintenance standpoint, I don't know if it's ever been cleaned out. Probably not. And there's other places in the city that are similar to that, and that's probably a pretty bad one because I know obviously that bridge doesn't go up very high. So even if there is, matter of fact, more water there, you're going to be hitting your head as you go under it. So there's, I'm a proponent of cleaning up the waterways, cleaning out that silt, doing some dredging. Matter of fact, as an overall coastal restoration project is something that I'm pushing for. One of the things that I've committed to do, and I was basically giving Matt a little time to get settled in. He just started a couple weeks ago. But one of the very next things that I want to do is have a member of Port Authority come in, a member from Pasco, have a conversation about coastal restoration, going after funding to see if we can do something as a large scale project for our area. If that doesn't pan out, or maybe alongside of that, I'd also like to see for areas like that where we actually have bad areas, go in and hit those one at a time, like potholes in the street. I always use the terminology. When you're going down Bay Boulevard, you don't even replace a whole road. You fix a pothole here and there, and you're good. Same thing in the waterways. Let's find those places that are really, really bad. If you drive down Old Post, you'll see right there around Blue Point Drive. It's just when the water's down, it's just barnacles after barnacles, and there's also a little throughway that's actually supposed to filter the water as the tide comes in. It drops the silt in that little depression area there, and the water comes out and it doesn't have that, but that's all clogged in. Now that I think probably in the past has done some maintenance that may have been cleaned out fairly recently. I don't know, but I don't think it's a regular schedule. And obviously there's time and effort and money involved in doing that. But I think that's something we need as council to look at the very least. If we don't do a full dredging project, at least try to hit some of these potholes in the water, if you will. So I feel your frustration there. And I hope that we can do a larger project and just understand that that's being looked at, and there's probably more to come in the future on what direction we end up taking, if any. So, Dave.
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. And as long as we're on the topic of dredging, one of my favorites. That particular last maintenance that I'm aware of is when they did dredge Blue Point right there at the road, where Old Post goes over the road, 3 tubes under the under the road. Jack Mariano was instrumental in getting the county to come out and just clear the pipes there for Hurricane Michael that went up and hit North Florida. Had it hit here, it would have been a different situation. But to that end, the city has not done any maintenance on any of these canals in over 60 years. And the mayor is right. There are potential problem areas. Every canal person that lives on a canal knows where they're at. And it would behoove us to let's look at a master list together and say, what would it take to deal with the problem areas? And it's not dredging every canal 6 feet, the areas that are problems, which would be a better approach, and it would make the waterways more navigable for the residents. Now, we just found out we can use Penny for Pasco for doing stuff like that, because those are things that have a useful life greater than 5 years, and it would be considered infrastructure. So I think we need to reprioritize what's on that list, look for opportunities with our grant coordinator, potentially find coastal restoration activities that would align with improving our water quality and address opportunities where the city wouldn't have to foot the entire bill. And if so, I'm a resident here. I don't mind paying my share, and I believe that would improve part of it as well. So to whatever extent you can put together an opportunity there, I'm on board. Thank you.
And I'll add on to that, Les, telling you about, obviously, that's another option. Pasco is doing their MSBU program. I think they're doing 3 off the bat, where they basically find out how much it's going to cost to dredge an area, and then what kind of grant funding, and if they can offset that, and whatever's left, they divvy that up against all the property owners over a 10-year period on their tax bill. That's something that we can look at, obviously, as we have broader conversations about how we approach this problem. With residents would have a share in helping make that happen. So all this, and obviously before we would make decisions like that, I'd want to have some workshops and stuff to bring residents in and talk about what the tolerance is for that type of thing, give some options. So at the end of the day, this stuff costs a lot of money. You start talking about dredging canals, very, very expensive, and that's probably why it's been neglected for so long. It's gotten, now it's to the point it's really a lot of money to try to address that. So I think it's less money to try to hit these potholes, as I call them, in the water. It probably solves maybe 85, 90% of the problem. Because even behind my house, if I go out in the water, I'll sink knee deep in silt. But at low tide, it's probably 2.5, 3 foot. It's something you can still kind of get in and out of. But we hit those rocky areas and stuff like that. That helps a lot. So something we can look at, maybe just as a phasing type thing. Again, lots of approaches to do it. Not doing anything is not acceptable in my opinion. Like I said, we'll talk about those as they come in, but I'm going to be having conversations going forward to see what options are out there and what we should take a look at doing. Did you guys have anything to add on dredging? No. Welcome.
So my name is Debbie Robinson, and my business is at 8001 Apple 6. So I have a city, it's like a water meter, and it used to be a fountain there in the waterway next to, so I'm right behind the runaway, the veterinary runaway on Washington and Pine Hill. And so I was just wondering how come maybe the city couldn't put that fountain back in, because I have the meter, it's still on my property, and it used to be so beautiful. And then the other thing was, I still have a lot of problems with the Baycare nursing home that's right next door to me. So just the other day, the police were over, like 3 police officers, because one of the ladies was screaming, and she sat at my property. She was running with a walker, and she came to my property screaming and yelling, and she sat on her walker and would not move. With this screaming and yelling, they finally talked her in, and 3 officers walked her all the way back to the nursing home. But I was having the problem with that nursing home, and so I don't know. I think the police officers. So then I told them also that at night, because I have a lot of cameras, and I have like the homeless people, like on a bicycle, because they know, like all the homeless people, because on the corner, that guy's always there. He lives right across the street in the woods in my building, doesn't bother anybody. But the one guy on the bike, he comes in the dumpsters. And so I asked the police officer when he was there, and they said that they can't stop anybody. It's not against the law to go into a dumpster, but my building is really long, so he would have to drive now on my property, which he does, and so now I have to get a trespassing warrant, and then I have to put a special sign up with my name on it, my business, and something from this, I think, the state, and then I would have to call the police and I would have to go to jail. But I don't want to. They, like the police officer, they know those people. Was it this bike, and what does it look like this? And I said yes, and so they know them. But I don't think they should be coming on people's property. Actually, there was some man that was with a dog, and then I went to the police officer and I asked him, I said, I think I said something about there was a man with a dog on my property, and were they looking for somebody? That's what I told them. Were you looking for somebody? Because he was a man with a dog. And I thought maybe they were looking for like somebody, like a criminal or something. And they said, no, it was us. And they come on my property, and they let the dogs out, and they train the dogs on my property. I had no idea. They never even asked me or said anything, but it's okay. I don't mind if they do that or not. And then the other thing was, so now I have dredge from Pine Hill, and it all goes, on the big pipes, and then it goes into a side of my building and the side of the runaway, and then that's where it all drains in. So mine are too crushed. They're crushed already. So I tried to call the city to see if they would uncrush them, but they won't uncrush them. And then now, since the runaway moved in, now, because it used to be the Salvation Army for many, many years, and they used to always keep it really clean all the way down to the water, because both of us, we own 30 feet into the water. Mine on that side, and then the city owns this little strip in the middle of it. And then, so now they put the fence, but now they're not cutting. So now the waterway on their side it's like almost completely closed now. So we won't have any drainage of any of the streets where they go into this big, what do you call it? It's a waterway, but it's
Culvert?
yeah, something.
Like
a ditch, yeah, like a ditch. So I've had the city there, and I've had, just like right now, see, because we love the runaway. We like what they're doing, and helping the animals and everything. And we actually just volunteered 20 kids to help them rake and cut, cut trees. And then you put them in front of the waterway. And the city didn't even pick them up this time. So I always have to call Adam and just tell him but that wasn't my stuff, that was their stuff. But I guess I got to call them, because on the first 5 days, they're supposed to be picking up. And they're right on that street. They go down that street. They're on that street, and they have to pass me every day. I see them all the time, but they're still sitting there, the stuff that they're supposed to pick up. Mm-hmm. And I was also wondering, because now the school is going to open up. They're trying to get that church that across the street, and now that homeless man's living there. But what happens is these people that are coming from the nursing home, so if you go to Washington and then there's like a sidewalk, that sidewalk ends with these woods, and then there's no sidewalk. So they have to go into the street, walk into the street until they pass my place to get onto the sidewalk. So I don't know why the sidewalk isn't completed all the way down. So I wasn't coming here to talk, but I figured I might as well say everything, come up and say everything that actually didn't know who to ask or talk to.
So if I could, there's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information.
Did you have some questions on some of the locations that, I know, is that?
It's right here.
From Pine Hill.
Is that part of our drainage thing she's talking about?
Yeah. I have to look into it.
Okay. Yeah, so he'll look into that area and see if that's something we can take a look at. The another thing I wanted, so the homeless issue, I know the city put together last year, they started a program with Pasco getting, as they commit crimes, the police would go out, get them plugged into services or whatever. I asked for some data on that we don't have. That program is, any comments on that? But what I wanted to, going forward, is try to collect some data as we have encounters with homeless folks, the type of, how we encountered them, what were they doing, whatever. If we plug them into one of the county services or whatever, they get the help they need if they need that.
Understand that.
Yeah, so I think homelessness is a problem. I think.
No, I just don't think that if the police officer tells me that they're allowed to go in the dumpster, but he's coming off the street going way down the end of my building, because the dumpster's at the end of my building. So, I don't understand then that they can go in the dumpster, but they're on my property, and they're going a long way with a bicycle on my property. So, and there's nothing in there but
I think, Debbie, you need to talk to the police about that, because there are some laws about trespassing. They just can't.
No, he told me I have to get a.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain rules and laws that you have to follow, and I'm certainly not knowledgeable in that, but I kind of overheard a conversation Chief was having with somebody about that. Yes. And they just can't go on and say you're not allowed on that property because it's whether it be residential or commercial. You just need to talk to the police department about that, and get what you have to do to take care of that, because they just can't. The police just can't go by and go, oh, look, that's a person standing on that person's property. Let me give them a ticket or arrest them or whatever, tell them to get off. They can't legally do that without certain steps being followed.
Yeah, there's signage that needs to be placed, certain
What I want to do is when I went to the police department and they told me I have to fill out the paperwork, you know, to get the trespassing, and then I have to put something out in front of my property, but I have to put my name on it. And I don't think that's good because can I put my business name on it? No, have to put the owner's name on it. And I said, well, then I don't want anybody to retaliate against me. I got nervous and I didn't want to put my name on it. Why do I have to put my name on it? So because it says on that paper, it says you have to put your name. I said, okay, I'll put Apple 6 commercial. And they said, no, you have to put your name on it. I said, well, that doesn't make sense.
That's gotta be some legal thing. That's not I wouldn't think that's a Port Richey thing. I think that.
No, it isn't. It's
a legal thing. That's not our.
If you can leave your name and number with Matt, he'll talk to the chief and see if they can help facilitate getting some stuff that you need to take care of there as far as.
Okay, and then the other thing about is really the waterway, because now we had an alligator in there, and then the people, I used to let them fish in there, and I didn't mind it. They just came and they just fished, and it was beautiful. And there's turtles in there, and there's ducks in there. It's really nice. And then somebody was starting to feed the alligator with the marshmallows, and we got a picture of it. And then he started getting aggressive. So I was like sitting on the side of the road, and then all of a sudden I was walking across to the end of my building, and he followed me. So, I mean, I saw him, he was just a little, and then when they took him out, I called the trapper, and he was like 5 foot. So
Okay, yeah.
it wasn't bothering anybody, but I felt bad for him, but.
A lot of marshmallows.
Yeah.
But then what happened was the people, they were fishing, and then he was eating their bait. Like when they was fishing, they were trying to.
Put him over by the dumpster. On a leash.
That's thinking outside the box right there.
I just don't want that waterway, so I tried to talk to the people. My grandson volunteers there, and talked to Danielle, who owns it, and asked her to see if she would cut. But when I called the city, they said they can't force people to cut their own property, but it's going into the waterway, and eventually we won't. It's almost like closed. It used to be so pretty. It used to have a fountain in there and everything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the fountain. So is that body of water is that city property, or is it?
Just like a swell. I don't know what you call it. It's just.
And there was a fountain in the swale?
No, not a swell. It's like in like a trench, like a little
Yeah.
A retention pond. That's.
Yeah. Is it
a small retention pond?
Is that city property or?
She said that she owns
The
30
retention
feet of
pond
it,
by the-
somebody else owns 30 feet, and the city owns
The middle of it.
the middle. Is that what you
I
said?
just got
One behind Runaways you're talking about?
Yes.
She has the industrial.
Yeah, she got the balance there.
That runs perpendicular.
That's my tenant.
Yeah.
And you said somebody had a meter or something for this.
I have a meter on my property, and it says City of Port Richey, and they use that meter, that water meter, to run but it's off. But they used to run the fountain in there.
A water meter or electric meter?
It's like electric meter. Looks like electric meter.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Can you ask them to check that?
Yeah. And
The utility department check that out.
I'd actually in our park. I brought it up last council meeting. Matter of fact, there's an old fountain head in one of the lakes there at the waterfront park. So I agree. If we have those, maybe look into them and get them running again. Maybe this is another one that we can look at.
They break frequently.
If they tell me that it's that sometimes it was like getting like filled with something, but I used to live at 5033 Waterside Drive, so I'm familiar with that whole park area. They're there all the time, fixing everything all the time. That park, and even the little dolphins that they're spitting out water and stuff, but they could fix mine.
Well, that one that's fresh water there, so that probably the one at the waterfront park.
Mine's fresh water, mine breaks all the
Oh,
time.
does it?
Yeah, they constantly break.
Them all the time. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You're doing a great job.
Nice to see you, Doug.
Make sure you get your contact information to Matt before you leave, so he can
Here, right
reach out.
here, Doug.
Okay.
Anybody else? Take your time.
Time's up.
Thanks all for coming.
Jerry Griffin, 7638 Deidre Circle. So first, welcome, Mr. Cobbler. Let the good times roll. Half of city council's missing, so I guess our meeting's.
Just one. Right away. And there's a little
writing.
Oh, yeah, so,
My topic,
so you know, the folks that sit down here, they're actually, department heads. Like finance sits over there, building official, so.
And this is not a mandatory.
It's not mandatory,
It's not
correct.
mandatory. None of us have to be here, but we choose to be.
well, we appreciate you being here.
problem.
Our grievances, you know.
Not a problem.
Obviously, we have a few tonight. My concern is code enforcement. Obviously, we're without right now. And obviously, we're going to hire someone new. Selective code enforcement. It seems to be an issue in this city. There's areas where some people are allowed to do whatever they want to do. Multiple cars in their front yards and garbage all over the place. And other people are cited for maybe a boat in their driveway that's nice, it's covered, it looks good. And I don't know where we're at on that either. I think we discussed that a few meetings back about being able to park your boat in your driveway.
There's a comment on that. So planning and zoning meet on Wednesday, tomorrow. And one of the agenda items is boat parking as well as other, like recreational vehicle and truck parking. There's a couple, commercial vehicle parking. That's on the agenda for them tomorrow. The process is they're looking at codes that that we think that we might want to change, take a look at. They make a recommendation, it comes to council, and then we'll decide if we do that or not. So that is something that is in the works. They're looking at that, and that meeting's tomorrow. If you come to that, you'll be able to comment on that specific item, so.
Yeah, putting your boat in your front yard, I mean, it's a boating community. I mean, as long as it's kept neat, it's a good idea. It's the people that have, boat projects and they're really making the neighborhood look bad, and all of their parts and their garbage and their accessories laying everywhere. And there's cars, there's certain people that have cars in their front yard and things like that. And nobody ever says anything to them. But yet somebody that has a boat in their yard that's covered and it's nice and neat and orderly, and they get a letter in their mailbox that they're not allowed to have that boat there. So it's selective code enforcement. And when it comes to code enforcement, the last code enforcement officer would sit at the corner of Washington, behind the fire department, that street right there. I've seen him sit back there for hours at a time. I mean, just sit there. And the whole time, city council's up here saying, we need to hire another code enforcement officer because we don't have enough coverage. And in the past, I've been here just in city, I've lived here my whole life, but I've been in Port Richey 18 years. One code enforcement officer's always been sufficient. And depending on whether they wanted to or not, we're able to do a very good job of enforcing our code enforcement rules. As of our last code enforcement officer, he didn't seem to want to do anything. Who knows what he was doing? We'll put it that way. We don't really want to discuss it. But maybe some type of transponder on his vehicle or something like that. So, or some of the city vehicles, so you know where those people are. In the past, I've seen other city vehicles that they'll drive around the city all day long and do nothing, and they just drive around and put miles on them vehicles. And I mean, I'm not trying to be a tattletale or set up here, but these are tax dollars. And you guys always want more money, constantly, more money, more money, more money. And I understand that, but at the same time, there's money being wasted that could be utilized. When you've got, like, for instance, on Deidre Circle, that water main that broke recently, a few months back. That thing sat there for 2 years. The cattails were 8 foot tall. I called that thing in 10 times, but nobody listens. I've not called it in, but told the city guys. The grate in the road on Deidre Circle, that the guy on my street came up a couple meetings ago and said he'd fix it himself. And you guys gave Sal great praise for fixing that grate in such a timely manner. But that grate was there for 17 years like that. But yet he gets great praise for fixing it immediately. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up here. We're asking for a lot of money from the residents to do a lot of things. The waterfront district, you spend $185,000 there, nothing's been done. We spend $75,000 on a study for the pier next to Whiskey River. Nothing's been done. We spend a lot of money on studies and nothing gets accomplished. I mean, I like it here. Out of all the Tampa Bay area, this is where I chose to invest in. The most real estate that I've ever owned is right now. And anyway, I don't want to just sit here and complain. I understand it's a new mayor, new city manager, and good luck. That's all I can say. I wish things could change a little bit. I'm bringing my grievances forward because that clock's not hollering at me, and I'm not used to normal protocol when and what time to come up here and speak. And you see what I'm saying? But anyway, thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. I appreciate you coming. I want to reiterate that what you said. We do have a new city manager, and I unanimously selected by the council, interviewed, lots of great accolades coming to the city, and I know probably the rest of the council is really excited to see how much better Port Richey can be under his leadership. So, and I'm confident that that's going to be the case. So I think some of these grievances that you may point out, well, you can't fix the past. Obviously, you got to fix going forward. You can't unscramble eggs, but the new eggs, I think we can do a much better job of. And I fully support Matt, and I think he's going to do a great job for us. So he was first. I'll get you next, Dave.
It's me again. I have way too many opinions. I actually want to give kudos to this code enforcement. I haven't been here long enough, but in the month that I have been here in Port Richey, I am noticing these, and it's even more so with the hurricane, and a lot of houses, took hits and they're abandoned. The one right across the canal from me had a sign on it and saying this property has been condemned. It's either blighted or a slum. Owner has 60 days. This was dated September 26th. So November 26th, 60 days were up. The owners, I guess, who don't live there, nobody lives there. There's several houses that nobody lives. And they came in one day and they mowed the grass. They touched up some boards up on the top, and they went to the dock in the back where I have to look at and painted it red. And that was it. And now the sign is gone. It looks like heck. I got to look at this red dock that's kind of halfway in the water and halfway kind of tilted. And so I'm praising you guys for going around this code kind of thing and making the whole Martha's Vineyard area much nicer place to live. There's a new sign. I saw an exact same sign on Channel Drive just went up. And its house, that house with the new sign, looks a whole lot better and maintained than the one across from me and the one next to it. It's horrible. I mean, it's just, windows are open. No cars are ever there. Animals have to be crawling inside because the wind, I assume, to dry it out from the hurricane. I don't know. But a lot of these houses need to have these signs, and I don't know what happens when the sign goes in and someone paints and comes back to you, okay, can you look at my property again? I've fixed it all up. He didn't do anything. So the house is still there. It's past 60 days. I don't know what what you guys, the protocol is for following up on these properties that you deem to be blighted or a slum. So I want to give you kudos. It's a good job that you're, going around doing this. You need to do a few more because there are some real bad ones out there.
Yeah.
There's a process. If you have a complaint about code enforcement, it has to be there's a form that you fill out. That's a state law. That's not our law. You have to fill this form out and put your name in it.
That's a web form on our website.
Yeah, so that if there are things that you want people to look at. The code enforcement gentleman no longer works here. We do have a building official, so that was as about 2 weeks ago. So things are going to run a little slowly in that.
He's the one that goes and would evaluate.
No, there's
this is good. This house.
The building official is the one that does life safety, make sure things are safe. So if you have a problem or a complaint, go on the website, fill the form out, put the address in, and he will go and look at it if he has not already.
Answer the question on the one that's right across the canal from me, what the status would be, because that it's 60 days per what the sign said has passed, and, you know, it hasn't been demolished, it hasn't, nothing, and,
Go to the building department. Call the building department tomorrow
okay.
during office hours and speak to, I think
Mike Alexander.
Mike
Or Veronica, sir.
Ask for Mike.
Mike or Veronica, either one.
Okay.
Mike's not always in the office, so Veronica might be able to help you.
And if there's an active, sounds like there is, and I don't know about, this is actually a question I had on the actual demos and stuff. I know there was one demo that actually wasn't an active case out there. I don't know if those will handle differently or not. So you can actually go out and see progress on certain code cases. Once it gets to demo mode, I don't know if that's
Where can I see this? I mean, I'll
see portritchie.com website. There's
I'm an IT, that's what I do. I'm an IT professional, so
yeah. So at the very
it's on my computer. I'll look at it. So under the City of Port Richey,
go see portritchie.com. Very top of the website, you'll see, and I'm here now. I'm looking for it. Development Services Online Portal. You click on that, and that's you can search permits. Past permits, online permit application if you want to submit permit, business tax certificate application, search business licenses, submit a violation request, which is, if you know somebody's roof is falling in or something, you can actually go out there and note that, and that gets it in the queue to be worked. And you can search existing code cases, so anything that's, you type the address in and find out if there's active cases against it. So if there isn't, you can submit one.
we'll go there. I appreciate that because I'm actually waiting on a permit. It's taking so long. What's going on for a dock? So I'll check that out. I didn't know I had access to that kind of information.
Yeah, and like I said, I think there may be some things that are in process that maybe haven't made it here yet. Again, that's something we're looking at trying to do better at. But there's a lot of information out there that you can find on your own. But if always not, reach out to the appropriate department and they get you that information.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. Thank you. I think I had somebody over here. No? Okay, Dave.
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. You did mention drilling through that. However, there's a hot link on the website for permits and process. It's further down in the website, up at the top. I forget what the name is.
You talking about the top links? That was the hot link that usually didn't be there. You used to have to drill into it.
Added a hot link.
Yeah, that's
permits and for code enforcement. It's further down. It's also under development services, but that one's a little convoluted to find. Now, one of the other things that seems to be missing is any of these cases that are pending relative to blight, condemnation. Those are not on the website anywhere. They cannot be found anywhere. I was told that they're not there.
That's what I was getting at. I think
I do not know. It should be. It's public data. People ought to be aware of what's being tracked for blight, and that way it'll prevent comments coming back to the city and taking time away from people from their jobs. The whole point of the website is to make information available and not bother the staff, okay? So that would be one thing that might be a benefit, is if all of the data was out there in a way that's accessible, searchable for people's use. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. No, I agree. I think it's something we probably get fixed. Sure. Anyone else? No? Any comments from you all? No? Was that? Oh, yeah. Well, that being said, we're got a half hour left. If nobody has any questions, we go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I appreciate you all coming. We appreciate you all staying to the very end. We had it's coming, and we'll have another one next quarter. Probably be March, in the March time frame. We should have an next one. So thanks for coming. Meeting adjourned.